Welcome into Dallas Mavericks Today. I am your host, Harrison Graham, back with some news and rumors, and really news-focused here as Rick Carlisle, former Mavericks coach, returns to the Indiana Pacers for a second stint. He has signed a 4-year contract to be the Pacers' next head coach. 4 years, $29 million are the terms of the agreement. And I said returns because, yes, he did coach the Pacers before the Mavericks back in 2003 through the 2007 season. 4 seasons with Indiana, including 1 trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Rick Carlisle didn't take long. You kind of figured when he resigned that he would get one of these head coaching openings, and he does, as he is heading to Indiana on a 4-year agreement. You knew Rick would land quickly. He's too high of a quality head coach in the NBA to not be a head coach. He's top 10 in this sport, in my opinion. Had a great tenure with Dallas. Obviously, the last few years, didn't go as well as the Mavs had hoped, but you knew Rick would land quickly. I thought he was qualified for some of the better openings, but there's some comfort there with him, obviously. He's coached in Indiana before, and maybe he's ready for that challenge to help them kind of rebuild back into being a contender in the Eastern Conference. What is your one-word reaction to the former Mavericks head coach taking the Pacers job? Let me know down in the comment section. One-word reaction to Rick Carlisle landing in Indiana on a 4-year deal. My one word? I don't know. I mean, I would have, the Celtics apparently didn't show interest, but if I was Rick, I would have tried to get one of the higher profile jobs. Now, there was a lot of chatter that if Milwaukee had lost in the second round, he could have gotten that Bucks gig, and that would have made sense, right? That's a really good job with the superstar and Giannis, but Indiana, I know he's coached there before, but to walk away from Dallas for Indiana, that's a step down in my opinion. Here's what Rick Carlisle had to say. Sent this quote to Tim MacMahon. It's hard to put an exact finger on it in terms of why he left. It's just a feeling that I had that it would be mutually beneficial, and that's something we've certainly discussed, right? How Rick, he's there for 13 years. Things didn't go as well as planned the last couple of years with Luka Doncic. Maybe a separation made some sense. Now, as far as going back to Indiana is concerned, he had some good years there. His first year was his best year. Went to the Eastern Conference Finals, won 61 games, and kind of slowly dwindled from there. Made the playoffs the next couple of years, but was fired after the 07 season when they missed the playoffs. But now Indiana's bringing him back for a second stint with the Pacers. The thing I just am struggling with, though, and I know reports are coming out, him and Luka didn't get along as well as people would have thought, is to walk away from Luka Doncic, a generational talent under the age of 23, to go take the Pacers job is interesting. Now, he said he felt it would have been mutually beneficial, which I can respect that from his standpoint, but to leave Luka for the Pacers, I get it if it's the Bucks, if you want to hit the reset button. Heck, even the Blazers with Damian Lillard, what are you really working with, though, in Indiana? Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, those are solid players, but that's a full rebuild there in Indiana, whereas in Dallas, a couple things go your way. You can compete for at least deep playoff runs pretty soon, so obviously that'll be a different situation for Rick Carlisle. So for you MFFLs, are you glad that Rick Carlisle is gone? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm expecting some split answers on this one because he was certainly a polarizing figure, especially in recent years. Let us know, are you glad that Rick Carlisle is no longer in Dallas? Now, he also had this to say, and Rick is always, someone to give his opinion. He said that his hope is that Jason Kidd will be the next head coach of the Mavs because he and Luka have so many things in common as players. I just think that it would be a great situation for Luka, and I think it would be an amazing situation for Jason. Found that interesting that he threw that little nugget in there when talking to Tim MacMahon today after taking the Pacers job. That's classic Rick to give his 2 cents on what the Mavs should do with their coaching search. Even though he walked away from the Mavs on his own accord, he also added that he's the only person on the planet who's coached both guys, which is true. He coached Jason Kidd for the title team, and then he coached Luka Doncic for the past 3 seasons as well. So on that note, who do you want as the Mavs' next head coach? Do you want Jason Kidd? Do you want Jamal Mosley? Do you want someone else? Let me know who you would like as the next Mavericks head coach as they continue their search and continue to press on without Rick Carlisle, who is now with the Indiana Pacers. Subscribe to Dallas Mavericks Today because we have the latest breaking news, rumors, free agency coverage. Stay tuned. We got a free agency rumor in just a second and a whole lot more. We're bringing you videos 4, 5, 6 days a week at this point because there's a lot going on with the Dallas Mavericks. Subscribe, hit that big red button. Don't miss any of our coverage here on the channel. Speaking of free agency, how about signing Spencer Dinwiddie? So a report from the New York Daily News, of all sources, which makes sense. He played with the Brooklyn Nets the past few years, listed the Mavericks as a team that will be interested in Dinwiddie. Now, he's got a player option for this upcoming season, but all reports and indications are that he will opt out, which makes sense. His role was going to be diminished after adding Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, especially once they trade for him. Only played 3 games this year with an ACL before suffering an ACL injury, so keep that in mind as well. Spencer Dinwiddie is young and he is talented. Now, ACL injury is a little worrisome, but he was actually probably going to return for the NBA Finals had the Nets made it that far. It wasn't a complete tear, so he was progressing along pretty well and should be full throttle for the upcoming season in October. And a couple of seasons ago, when he was kind of one of the main dogs when Kyrie got hurt and KD sat out that first season with Brooklyn because he was recovering from that Achilles tear, 21 points, 7 assists. Now, the efficiency wasn't great, but Brooklyn wasn't exactly loaded with talent that season either. He's a guy that can fill it up and play pretty decent defense as well. He's an interesting player. I'll be very fascinated to see what his price tag is because he's clearly looking to cash in as he opts out from his last season with the Nets if that's what he ends up doing. What do you guys think? Should the Mavs sign Dinwiddie in free agency? Type S for sign, type P for pass. Obviously, these things typically come down to money. I'm definitely interested, but would I give him $20 million a year? That feels a little expensive if you're asking me. So S for sign, P for pass. Let me know if you guys think the Mavs should sign Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, we are sponsored by the Newsbreak app on today's show, and the Newsbreak app is great if you like following local news stories all on one feed, right? It plugs into your zip code. If you like reading the Dallas Morning News, other outlets in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or anywhere in the country. If you're living out on the West Coast, it'll sync up to your local zip code. Like I said, you'll find local news, weather, politics, food, pop culture, whatever your flavor is, it's all going to be aggregated onto one feed on your phone. Newspapers are a thing of the past. It's all digital today, and get all of your sources on Newsbreak. Chatsports.com/MavsNB. That is the link to download the app on your mobile phone today. It'll redirect you to the App Store, and it gives us credit, so help us out. Chatsports.com/MavsNB. More on Spencer Dinwiddie here. The reason I'm at least intrigued is the Mavericks need more creators. We saw that in the playoffs. The player usage rate for Luka Doncic is just so incredibly high. What would happen every time he checked out of the game? Clippers would go on like a 10-2 run. It was just an absolute nightmare. As much as I like Jalen Brunson, he was not the same player in the playoffs. Doesn't mean he can't be in the future. But a guy like Dinwiddie, 20 points per game, he can dish as well. I'm intrigued. And you look at kind of the main horses in Dallas from this past year. We know Porzingis was an absolute stiff in the playoffs, plus he's not going to be a creator at 7'3". Tim Hardaway Jr. is a free agent, so that's something to consider as well. We'll see if the Mavs bring him back. He can create a little bit, but not to the level that Dinwiddie can. Jalen Brunson, good creator, wasn't good in the playoffs, was phased out of the rotation, and we don't even need to talk about Josh Richardson. We know how bad he was this past year. So if you bring in a guy like Dinwiddie as kind of a second guard to play next to Luka, maybe he's a super sixth man and runs the offense off the bench as kind of that combo guard. I'm intrigued. How does the ACL hold up? Hopefully pretty well. ACL injuries aren't nearly as bad as they used to be, so we'll see. Comes down to money, and also may come down to, can you re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr. and go sign a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie? I don't know. The money gets really tight at that point. May need Josh Richardson to opt out. Please opt out, Jay Rich, if you're watching this show. Type THJ for Tim Hardaway Jr., SD for Spencer Dinwiddie. If you had to pick one of these guys, who you going to roll with? THJ, the safer guy. He's been healthy and coming off a career year, so keep that in mind as well. But if you had to pick one of them, let us know, THJ or SD. Before we sign off here on Dallas Mavericks Today, quick reminder to subscribe. The link is down below. You can share that with all MFFLs. We're growing like crazy. We'll continue to bring you videos here on Dallas Mavericks Today. It's youtube.com/MavsTV.